Loved his work back in the day in Oz, Law and Order, and now in the new film The Front Runner, in which he plays the campaign manager to Hugh Jackman's Gary Hart. It opens up Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Good to see you, J.K. Simmons.
And you, Richard Eisen.
Right back at you, man. All right. Do we talk about the elephant in the room, or do we talk about...
you mean the mini helmet in the room?
Well, I mean, you know, that mini helmet's always there. It's the Michigan helmet. And again...
Which, by the way, all my OSU buddies and I one of our nicknames for your team, besides TUN...
Yes, the school up north.
Yeah.
Right.
Team up north.
Right.
Is Stupid Helmets.
Stupid helmets.
Yeah, I mean, what is that? Is that a wolf? Does that somehow represent a Wolverine?
Well, you know, I think it's a thing of beauty. I think it is something that speaks to class, elegance, and also a winning tradition is what that looks like. But we could go back and forth. I mean, what the hell is a Buckeye?
Right? A Buckeye is a poisonous nut. I mean, it's pretty
Brutus.
clear.
I mean, Brutus. I mean, that is
Brutus is a stud.
He's a stud. Yeah. I would think he looks like a freak.
Well,
he's a big head freak.
He's a dork stud.
All right. So where are you on a level of 1 to 10 concerned?
Oh, I'm concerned. Yeah, I mean, always concerned, you know, and more concerned when we're a favorite, which apparently we are. I don't understand. I mean, you know, it's another week away. We have to trounce Maryland first, and I forget what hapless team you guys played. Indiana. They can move the ball.
They can.
Yeah.
I know. That's one of those things. It's a Michigan home game. You know, you never know when you've got 18 to 21-year-olds looking across the steering wheel.
Although your defense, I think we'll be fine. We'll be facing each other with one loss each, and I honestly think this is the year that you guys take out 2 decades of frustration.
Excuse me. It's not 2 decades. It's not. It's not.
Okay, starting with Tressel,
right?
And then the one interim year doesn't count, and then the Urban era.
The 1 year.
It's been pretty fun for quite a while.
I know it has, and that's why I don't want to hear it from people who are like, "This is your year. This is your year."
This is your year.
No. That's why I don't, because I just know whatever is ailing the offense, and there's a lot, and whatever is ailing the front seven or the linebackers or the back seven, let's put the back seven, all right, that's going to magically go away in time for kickoff, noon Eastern on the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
You could argue that Michigan State had a pretty hapless offense, but I mean that's the best our defense has looked all year. I mean, our linebackers look like Ohio State linebackers, really, kind of for the first
time all year.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I think what's happened, if we can have like a serious nonpartisan, even though that's nothing to do with the front runner conversation, but to me, it seems that Nick Bosa saying I'm not coming back was something that affected, and I'm not saying this just to troll, I really believe it, affected Ohio State this year.
Yeah, I mean, the injury, in the first place, obviously, I mean, he's arguably the best player in college football.
He's going to be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft.
You would think. Yeah,
I think that's exactly who the Raiders are tanking for right now, quite honestly.
Well, there you go.
I really believe it.
Oh, man. He'll be a Raider. I mean, that's basically the NFL teams, as you know. I basically root for NFL teams based on how many Buckeyes they have. So I'm a big New Orleans fan right now.
And the Los Angeles Chargers with Joey Bosa coming back.
Yeah.
But no, New Orleans, the entire secondary is Ohio State.
Yeah. And Michael Thomas, the best receiver in football. I mean, it's ridiculous.
You can make that argument. Yeah. But Nick Bosa saying I'm not coming back, I think took a little bit of wind.
Which, I mean, you can't really argue with that choice. I mean, he could have come back probably for, the game. But he's got a lot on the line. J.K.
Simmons here on the Rich Eisen Show. Do you think this is Urban's last year? There's a lot of talk about that. There's a ton of chatter.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
But just your gut feeling. No, I don't know. I don't know either. I mean, nobody knows, but there's just...
I don't think so. I think we can be so good next year. I mean, we're losing a lot of great receivers and 60% of the O-line, but we're basically a really young team. I feel like going into this year, I felt like we were a year away from competing for a national championship. So I would, for a number of reasons, I would be surprised if he walked away now, and I hope he doesn't.
So again, your Ohio State love, just to repeat, because you've said it before here on the show, and just in case there's anybody new watching this, comes from your dad taught at the school, right? Is that true?
My dad taught there. He took a job there. We left Detroit for Columbus, Ohio when I was 10 years old. So all during my junior high and high school years, my dad was on the faculty at Ohio State, and I got to go to the games. And like the '68 national championship team, I was 13. You know, went to the game against Purdue and Leroy Keys.
Yeah.
Nice. And that was 68 was a great year for me because I just moved from Detroit, and the Tigers won, the World Series that year, and the Buckeyes were the national champs.
And to this day, you still have your Tiger and
those are my
Buckeye.
My two guys.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
It's strange. I know. I don't know. You're the only one I know. I don't know anybody. I'm met
unique
a ton
in
of
many
people.
ways.
I know you are very unique in many ways. Well, let's put it this way. You're definitely probably the only one, the only Tiger / Buckeye / Academy Award winner I'll probably ever meet.
That's a reasonably safe bet.
I bet so. So in that regard, how have you been watching Verlander succeed as well as he is for the Astros? You're making a face right now. I know for the radio audience, I'll describe it, but has it been tough for you to see that?
Yes and no. I mean, he's one of the guys that I now that I'm all famous and stuff, I get to go, down on the field and meet the guys before the games and stuff. And he's a guy that, that I clicked with, and we have stayed in contact. And the day that he made that, 11:59 and 59 seconds p.m. decision, we were texting that day. I was in Detroit, and we were going to have lunch 2 days later in Detroit. And he was, as we all know, on a plane to Houston.
He was that, I know.
Yeah.
He's been tremendous.
Well, look, he was tremendous in Detroit. I mean, he had some, he didn't win as many games, that last year and a half in Detroit, but he was, fighting through some injuries and has always been as good a pitcher as he's been for the last year and a half with Houston. It's just he's gotten the results and he's got a team scoring runs for him.
And a ring. And he's got that ring.
And a ring.
He's one of those good guys. He just had a kid, too. He just had a
beautiful
kid.
thing.
He just had a little baby daughter.
Such a beautiful thing.
I know, right? So did your lunch ever get rescheduled with him? Did you ever get that?
We haven't got together in person since then. No,
what the hell?
I know.
I mean, you're a busy man. You got lots going on.
Yeah, and he's wearing just a weird hat with a star on it now. I mean, it's weird. I mean, honestly, and I know this is hopelessly old-fashioned, but, at this point, with free agency in every sport and with, college sophomores going off to the pros, it's like you're basically rooting for a logo at this point because there's no loyalty. There's no Cal Ripkens. There's no Kirby Pucketts, who are going to be with their teams for, Alan Trammell, those guys are.
Right, start to finish. That's what Seinfeld always jokes, that you root for laundry. You root for the laundry. That was one of his stand-up acts. Is you root for laundry. You don't root for the guys in them. You root for the laundry.
The true fact.
Because that's that it's amazing how things change and how quickly they can change. Let's talk about your new film here, J.K. Simmons, The Front Runner. It's the story about Gary Hart's presidential campaign in 1988 going down the tubes fast, with him being the front runner. It looked like he was definitely going to take on Poppy Bush in that election. And for those who may not remember, a scandal of him cheating on his wife came out, Donna Rice being the one who was in front and center. And this whole film is about that moment. You play the campaign manager in this. What did you take out of this experience, this film from 1988 now in 2018? Well,
there's a few elements of this film that, first of all, Hugh Jackman, by the way, is one of those guys. He's one of the biggest movie stars on the planet, but he's like Drew Brees, right? But he acts like, the second string left guard. He's just one of the guys, just a prince of a fella. Just thought I'd throw that out.
No, but he's absurdly talented. I mean,
very talented, and also like a brick poop house. I mean, the guy is.
He is built.
He's one of those guys that you slap him on the shoulder when you see him and you go, ow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's the Wolverine. So solid? And in my house, The Greatest Showman, we've seen that movie about 1 million times.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, my daughter just had her High School Musical this past weekend, so she's a big fan on that level as well.
Right, and he plays Gary Hart in this film. He's terrific.
He does indeed, and he really channels Gary Hart brilliantly. Apparently, he was Australian, although you wouldn't know it.
Right.
Yeah, he and Vera Farmiga, who plays his wife Lee, really recreate and those are iconic moments and iconic people that guys my age remember very well. So that to me is always a very intimidating task. My character is not a guy who was in the public eye. He's very much behind the scenes, Bill Dixon. And in fact, I looked not remotely like him. But Jason Reitman, our wonderful writer-director, really was only concerned with having Gary and Lee Hart and Donna Rice, be somewhat recognizable as the real people they were playing.
And it's 30 years ago. It's amazing just watching it about how that was new, that a scandal of that nature could actually be injected into a political conversation. And Gary Hart just refused to accept the reality that it could be. And we all know what happened.
Well, yeah, because history, was on his side, really. I mean, it had been pretty much nudge, nudge, wink, wink before, all through. I mean, I don't know about how many American presidents, but there are several that we know of, before 1987, who, just routinely had mistresses on the side and, ladies coming and going, and the press just turned a blind eye. That was just the way it was.
So it's, again, you're great in everything. And this is no exception. This is really terrific. People should see it. Again, it starts Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Counterpart as well. Second season coming back on Stars in December. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thanks.
Last time you were on is when you were promoting that series for the first time.
The first time around, yeah.
Right. And so what can fans of that show expect in season 2?
More complexity, more intrigue, more new characters. Betty Gabriel joins the cast, and James Cromwell, some great new characters, in addition to all the characters that they've come to know and love and or hate.
Okay. And that's going to be in Stars coming on December 9th as a second season for that. And you just told me, Brockman, he just dropped on me as he sat down. Fresh off of a cameo appearance shot for the new season of Brockmire.
With the brilliant Hank Azaria as for those few sports fans who don't know, playing Jim Brockmire, the baseball broadcaster, and the show is just brilliant.
What do you play in this?
I play Matt the Bat Hardesty, an ex-player baseball announcer, and his nickname has nothing to do with his hitting prowess.
And Costas was on set.
Typecast again.
Was Bob there too? Bob was there?
Bob Costas. I got to. I pretended that I needed to go to set on the day that Bob and I were both there, just because I wanted to jump into the van and have 5 minutes
with Bob.
Yeah, where I basically kidnapped Bob and bent his ear for 5 minutes.
I bet you did. I mean,
and he was in his makeup for a flashback scene where so it was Bob Costas, with looking like Bob Costas 25 years ago.
Okay.
Which is, frankly, not that different.
Not too far. I know. He's like Benjamin Button. It's unbelievable.
He is, yeah.
And so you could have really gone down Tiger's memory lane with him there. I bet you did, right?
Yeah,
did
sure. You? Yeah, of course.
He probably knew like Denny McClain's back of his baseball card and Willie Horton and all those guys off the top of his dome.
Yeah, he's an encyclopedia.
All right, before I let you go, we play a game called Start Bench Cut here on the program.
Gotcha.
Since you've been here left. So you need to choose one to start, one to bench, one to cut. Okay, we're going to put you in a little bit of a spot here. Let's play Start Bench Cut with J.K.
Start now.
Is this all NFL or is it?
No.
Okay.
It's not all of them.
All right.
Here we go. Start, bench, cut. You have to choose one. You have to bench one. You have to cut one. Best Buckeye in the National Football League right now. Zeke, the aforementioned Michael Thomas, or Joey Bosa.
Wow.
Start, bench, cut.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how we roll here. You got to cut one of them. Start,
brutal.
bench, cut.
Start, bench, cut. Well, I guess I'll cut Joey Bosa just because he's coming off an injury.
Okay.
And, I mean,
That's a rough way of it's a rough and tumble NFL world. I understand. So who do you start
cut.
and you do bench?
Well, bench doesn't mean they have to sit the whole game.
But you must start only one.
Well, I'm going to start Michael Thomas, and then Zeke can sit down for the first series, and then just come in and have fresh legs.
Michael Thomas is truly unbelievable.
He's unbelievable.
And the aforementioned Breeze that you mentioned, we were talking about it. Breeze is the most accurate passer in the history of the NFL, throwing to a guy who catches everything.
Everything.
His catch rate is absurd. It's 90%.
Yeah.
And he's got a quarterback who throws it on target 90% of the time. So basically, he catches everything.
Pretty good.
Next one up. Best former Tiger pitcher no longer on the team.
Oh, God.
Start, bench, cut. Verlander, Scherzer, and current World Series champion. Suddenly, where did he come from? Rick Porcello.
Yeah, dude. And you could add David Price. I mean, the list goes on.
Okay, but these are the three we choose. Start, bench, cut.
Start, bench, cut. I'm going to cut Porcello just because he's from Jersey.
Okay.
And I'm gonna start JV just because he's a pal.
And bench Scherzer.
And I'm going to bench Scherzer because Max Scherzer is not that good.
He's benched Zeke and Scherzer right now, but that's the vagaries of the game. It's not you. It's us. All right, next one here. We've cut Schillinger out, and you'll understand why. Schillinger, pardon me. We've cut Schillinger out. My bad. I shouldn't. He just went Schillinger on the right.
Character moment.
Okay. So the most unlikable character you've portrayed. Okay. J. Jonah Jameson. BR and Thank You for Smoking, or Terrence Fletcher in Whiplash.
Most unlikable character
that you've played in film.
Well, I see why Schillinger was cut, because he's the only one of those who was an actual, rapist and murderer.
That one, yes.
And overt racist. Well, I guess, so the least likable would be the one I start.
That's it. Yes, that's the way we're...
Well, I'm going to have to start Fletcher because he hates everybody. I'm gonna bench BR, and I'm gonna cut J. Jonah Jameson because I thought he was just charming as hell, actually.
But I got to be honest with you though, in watching Whiplash, as much as I hated him, and wanted him to get a comeuppance, I wanted him to turn. I was just rooting the entire time for something good to come out of you,
dude. That's the brilliance of Damien Chazelle and that whole story. Yeah, I love that movie. I mean, and that ambiguity, is what, along with Damien and Miles Teller and et cetera, is what made it just as great as it was.
Right. I mean, I always was just, as much as I'm like, I went back and forth like, man, I wanted you to eat it. Wanted you to eat it, but I also
this had nothing to do with like a Buckeye Wolverine thing.
No, that only added to it. But I just wanted some redemption, some redemptive quality to come. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's because I'm just such a likable human.
You are, when it all comes down to it. Very good. Great to see you, J.K. Simmons.
Thanks, man.
Great to see you. Check out The Front Runner in theaters near you Wednesday, November 21st, and then keep an eye peeled for Counterpart to return to Stars, Season 2, December 9th. And, of course, Brockmire down the line. Great to see you, sir.
You too.
Back with more in a moment.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.